Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Legal Score. I am your host, Sonja. Happy Saturday. Happy April 18th. We are wrapping up this month very swiftly. I hope everyone's doing great in your neck of the woods. It's a beautiful spring day here in Atlanta. I know in some parts of the country they are experiencing some stormy weather, but never fear. Behind every cloud is a ray of light. So that's kind of my mantra across the board with everything. And thank you guys for coming on once and for all. Make sure you please like and share and say hello. Let me know that you're watching. Shout out to the production team behind the scenes, Brian B.A. Strilla and Pink Fanfur. Thank you guys so much for everything. And of course, this episode all month long is dedicated to my uncle, which is the reason why I do what I do. So I'm Sonja. And let's get started. So, we talk a little bit about everything on Saturdays. We talk about sports, but of course, by the name being the legal score, we also talk about things that are what? Law related. So, let's back up just a little bit with my last show, which was last night from 9 to 10. I have Friday with the Fellas that I do every Friday night with Brian Arndt, the producer extraordinaire and co host of the 1 8 Cheek 3 Toes show and James Martin. Both of them also have the BW movie show. So make sure you guys check them out. But I'm going to take you guys back to where we left off. What's up, B? He's saying hi right now. Thank you so much for coming on, always supporting me. Hope you have the most wonderful afternoon. Um, but anyway, guys, so when we left off with that show last night, the NBA win to stay in playoffs were going on. For those who watched the show, you know I'm a Hornets fan. I was absolutely devastated by the lack of performance that the Hornets put on last night. And then there was a game that was coming on as the show was wrapping up. So the first game, of course, the Orlando Magic just mollywopped. Y'all know I haven't said that word in quite a while. They mollywopped my Hornets, 121 to 90. Now, me thinking what I'm thinking, like, okay, at least they got to 90, right? But y'all, that game was a 30-point deficit for the duration. It just looks a little closer than what it is. And I guess if you add the 20 in there, it's still 30 points, right? Math was never my strong suit. But anyway, Orlando's balanced attack was way too much, with Charlotte struggling to find a second option behind their primary ball handlers. And speaking of ball, LaMelo Ball did like hardly anything last night. Concanopoulos was frigid at best. Both of them limited in scoring and assists and rebounds across the board. Just a very ugly show of playing actually in Orlando. Now they had to hide behind them when they played the Heat, another Florida team, just before this matchup. But Orlando show they still have some magic, but let's not get it twisted, Orlando. Your time is coming and your razzle dazzle has been exposed. Of course, the first quarter, Orlando had 32, Charlotte had 24, and they were looking like that was going to be just a little bit of a lead. Nobody was super concerned in that first quarter, but the Magic set the tone early. The second quarter, it was now a lead of 16 over the Hornets, and then it was a total defensive lockdown by the time the third quarter rolled around. They outscored them significantly, and then at the very end, it was garbage time for the last 6 minutes, 6 minutes of the game. So Charlotte is back home. Then in that second game, we saw Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors, and a lot of people believed that this would be an opportunity for Steph to come back and show up and show out, but he didn't. The Phoenix Suns scorched them 111 to 96. Golden State is at home. Devin Booker actually led the way with 26 points, while Golden State's Brandon Poszitzky put up a valiant 13.8 points per game effort. So those were the leaders of that specific game. In the West, of course, OKC sitting at the number 1 seed, waiting to see who gets to them. And of course, in the East, Detroit sitting at the number 1 seed with the Celtics right on their heels at the number 2 seed for the East. Now, tonight's matchups, of course, the Atlanta Hawks are still in it. They will be playing the New York Knicks tonight at 6. So that game will be coming up right after this podcast wraps up. You don't want to miss it. And the Minnesota Timberwolves will be playing the Denver Nuggets at 3:30 today. Toronto Raptors are playing Cleveland. Here, they actually just wrapped up. That game is a wrap. My bad. That game is over. Cleveland took game one of that matchup between the Cavs and the Raptors, 126-113. The 3:30 game is here going to be wrapping up soon against the Minnesota T-Wolves and the Denver Nuggets. And then, like I said, the Knicks and the Hawks play tonight at 6. And then followed by that is the Houston Rockets versus the LA Lakers. Now, KD went down, y'all, last night. We broke that news on air. James actually did, James J. Train Martin. And so this is going to leave LeBron all in Soloville for tonight's game against the Rockets. It's going to be big to see, but not only him being out, but Luka Doncic, of course, is out with that left hamstring strain. You guys know about that. The Rockets, on the other hand, are missing Fred VanVleet. He has an ACL injury, and Steven Adams. And in Denver, Anthony Edwards is actually, Ant-Man is questionable with a knee issue as well. So that's going to be big games coming up tonight. We're going to have a chance to look at all of that and more. Congratulations in the WNBA. Let's talk about our ladies for a minute. Moving from men to the women here, the WNBA is definitely gearing up. Of course, they got some expansion teams that they've been talking about. The reigning champ Las Vegas Aces just announced their 2026 training camp roster. And that training camp roster, guys, is terrifying. They've got four-time MVP A'ja Wilson leading a group of 8 returning champions. They also re-signed Chelsea Gray and Jewel Lloyd. Keep an eye on their draft picks, Janiyah Barker and Jordan Obi, as they try to crack a roster that already boasts 20 combined all-star appearances. So that camp is going to tip off on tomorrow, April 19th. I do want to congratulate, however, another WNBA player, and it is none other than A'ja Wilson off the rip. She reportedly signed a fully guaranteed 3-year, $5 million Supermax deal to remain with the Las Vegas Aces. This is setting a new league standard at our time. You guys know we've always talked about the WNBA does not get the money, does not get the endorsements, does not get all the things that the men do. However, the endorsements have taken an uptick. But congratulations to A'ja. Not long after that, Indiana Fever star and 3-time All-Star Aaliyah Boston also topped that by agreeing to a 4-year, $6.3 million extension, now superseding A'ja Wilson's contract, making her the richest total salary in WNBA history as of date. She's going to make $1 million this year, and then the Supermax, 20% of the cap from the 27-29 season. One record that was broke, then another followed it as the league's biggest names continue to redefine the financial ceiling in real time. Additionally, Angel Reese made her introductory press conference on yesterday with the Atlanta Dream. Congratulations to her. She was nearly in tears as she talked about the sisterhood that she just saw as soon as she visited and interacted with the ladies of the Dream, and how she just was looking forward to, being enveloped into that and moving forward. So congratulations to Angel as well. Like I said, y'all, WNBA making big strides, and congratulations to those ladies for getting those coins. One thing I do want to roll back and include before I move on. I don't know if you all caught the last sound bites of the Golden State Warriors game and Steve Kerr's press conference after that. I was looking at a little bit of back footage and everything, and it looked as if, Steve knows the writing on the wall. He knows the Warriors have not had a fight in them for a very long time. And not only that, he's just completed the final year of his 2-year, $35 million extension that made him the highest paid coach in NBA history, to be honest, guys, by annual value. He's now considered off contract for the next season coming up. And after this season-ending loss, he basically said, hey, I need time to decompress. He told Draymond and Steph that he loved them. There was live mics over them. He was like, I don't know where we go from here, but I love you guys. It was very emotional. This is one of the things we see in sports across the board where it is, what's beneficial for the team from a business perspective, and then these personal relationships that are there. But like I told B and James last night, Golden State has been on this dismantle for quite a while. I mean, we saw it when Jordan Poole left, and it just came to trickle down. The last two that were really standing were Steph and Draymond. And I don't know if Steve Kerr comes back. If he comes back, it would be great, but they need to get some additional talent in Golden State. Of course, they try to bring in Seth Curry, hoping that would revamp up at least the Curry thing. But Steph wasn't even a leader last night. And Steph's battled injuries, not only this season, but a couple of seasons back as well. And these guys are getting up there. James pointed it out. They are nearing that 40 mark. And you just don't see athleticism at its peak in 40 that you would in the 20s, which is with anything in life. But I don't know. This was a disappointing, finish for Coach Kerr, of course. Their owner, Joe Lacob, has actually publicly expressed, desire for him to remain. But, we can see one thing come out in the press conferences or in the blogs or what have you, and then something totally will be done. But his era with the Golden State Warriors is at a critical crossroad. This has just been one of those things that even I kind of felt some type of way. This is, of course, now at the center of the next decision. They're saying, let's take a few weeks off and regroup. But I'm expecting some news to come within the last, part of this month. They probably won't wait a month at all. They may wait a few days. But what do you guys think? Kerr has definitely been a game changer for that organization. And so I'd like to see him personally come back with the tools that he needs to make sure that he's good to go. What's up, Veronica? My cousin Papa. Hey, girl. Yeah, so I'm on live, girl. This is my little show I do. So make sure you hit the like and subscribe and all that stuff. Looks like you're on my YouTube. So thanks for subscribing. Thank you, cousin. Beautiful. Hope you're doing well. Give everybody in the family my love, especially your mom. All right, so she's watching from the North Carolina, Red Springs, Robertson County, Cumberland County area. But yeah, so we're gonna, keep an eye on whether or not, Steve Kerr comes back. Moving over to my favorite subject, the NFL, guys. The NFL actually confirmed today they are not going to be investigating New England Patriots coach Mike Vrabel. Now, y'all know we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks. Mike Vrabel and Rosani, this young lady, Diana Rossini, that they've come out with these pictures from Sedona and this retreat. Sedona's in Arizona, from what I last remember. But the NFL is coming out saying, hey, we're not going to examine him under coaching conduct. His conduct has not been detrimental. So I'm sitting here like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Okay, got you about Curry. He says considering, and all right, Pom Pom, Mama Marianne and Cheryl. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much. Love you all. So glad to see. I didn't know everybody was there. Good to see y'all. So yeah. Anyway, my family. So glad to hear from them. It's been forever. He's not going to be disciplined. And if you all remember, Diana stepped down as in her position. And this is the era that we're talking about here. Women are always punished more than a man for the exact same conduct. Now, I do agree that Mike Vrabel didn't break any conduct detrimental to, coaching the New England Patriots. But then why would she have to step down? Why does she? I understand she made this personal decision because she felt like it was going to get out of control. And then I honestly believe, y'all, the last has not been told. My legal mind tells me the last has not been told. Oh, disclaimer, in case you all didn't see it when it comes on, I am a law student, not a lawyer. So all of my comments are not soliciting or providing legal advice. They are just something you and I could talk about like a regular chat. But anyway, he's not going to be disciplined. The show goes on, roll next. Everything happens just the way it is. But I will say, for him not to be disciplined, I know she's definitely thinking now, like, why would I have even stepped down? So he's not going to be disciplined. And not only that, let's see, I had a little note about him. So I really wanted to make sure I said exactly this. Mike Vrabel is like easy peasy. Nothing's going to happen. He's going to be good to go. The show goes on. And y'all know me. I was like, maybe Stephon Diggs left some of his remnants there when he was being coached by him. So nonetheless, there you have it. Another person is disgruntled. Now, you guys know the NFL has been talking about going to 18 games. Well, Joe Flacco, everyone's superhero quarterback that comes in from retirement every few years or so, says he thinks this is a horrible idea. He was quoted saying, I think what could happen is playoffs start to suffer and you get teams that are so beat up by the time the playoffs occur that they're not really at their best. And y'all know I've said this. I've said that if you go to 18 games with as physically dominating as the NFL is on the body of the athlete, you're not, everybody's hurt anyway with the regular season. What are you going to do? Start imposing fines if teams don't rest their starters? That's the only thing I could think of. If you know your team is going to the playoffs, let's say week 15, you're not playing those last few weeks of your starters unless you need your starters to play to solidify your playoff spot. If you don't, then it's a wrap. And you're right, B. It definitely shows at 17 games. And Roger Goodell has said his desire is 20 games to lessen the preseason to 2 games and then immediately start the new season in August as opposed to waiting to September. And they are slowly but surely moving up the schedule 1 week at a time. So Joe Flacco, an advanced veteran quarterback, he knows what he's talking about. He's played in the game, and he's exactly right about that. Another change that's even coming to college football, y'all, the SWAC is actually moving towards ending games against non-NCAA opponents. According to comments made by their commissioner, this is on the HBCU Games Day. So teams like Lincoln, VUL, they are amping up a schedule change. Now, no date in sight as to when this will actually take place, but it's coming. I think next season is a little too soon because it's right around the corner, but possibly the 27-28 season, we're going to see some changes with that. And I'm not surprised because if you think about it, there was a lot of college teams that they started combining the SEC and the Big Ten and all these Big 12 conferences. And before you know it, these bigger universities and athletic departments just swallow up the smaller schools or what have you. And so it shows. B says Goodell doesn't care about the players. He cares about the dollars. And yeah, you're right. There's nothing good about Goodell. That's a good point. Congratulations here to the first win in franchise history, talking about UFL, the United Football League, is Columbus Aviators actually took down the undefeated Dallas Renegades at home, 14 with all the Renegades had in them, 28 Aviators took them down. So congratulations to them. Super excited for them. That's the little baby NFL. So I had to plug that in for you guys. Let me tell y'all about a team that is making sure they are locking up for next season. It's none other than the Houston Texans, locking in one of the most productive pass rush duos in the league, and they are paying them. So first of all, you guys saw that Daniel Hunter was extended for Houston on a 1-year, $40.1 million deal, then followed up with a record-eating, record-setting, record-beating extension of Will Anderson Jr. We talked about his contract last night, the fact that he has a no-trade clause for 3 years, $150 million with $134 million of that guaranteed, becoming the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. Now, both of these moves are reflecting what they delivered in 2025. 2 elite productions. Anderson earned first team All-Pro honors with 12 sacks, 20 tackles for loss, and 23 quarterback hits, while Hunter led the team with 15 sacks and added 22 quarterback hits, earning the second team. So they're neck and neck. Houston is building its defense up, guys, and everyone in the West needs to be very aware that the AFC West may end up switching to the new best defensive duo, and that belongs to the Houston Texans. Grand pass rush and all that stuff that's going on with them. They have given Daniel Hunter $40.1 million. And then, of course, Will Anderson with the 50. Daniel gets the 40 and Will Anderson with the 50 million per annual. So congratulations to them. Aviators is the old Panthers. Oh, okay. Well, that's definitely good to know. All right. The old Panthers franchise is super important to know about. Little Commanders news, y'all. Y'all Washington Redskins, Commanders, or whatever we should be calling you at this point. According to Football Forever, the Association of American Indian Affairs is offended by the Commanders' new black alternate helmet that has a spear intertwined with the team's W logo and says it is inappropriate. The Washington Commanders' decision to update their logo is disappointing and inappropriate, to say the least, was what they were quoted to say. It's time to stop repeating the cycle and listen to Native peoples who have been clear, consistent, and unwavering on this issue. We are not your mascot. This is via USA Today, and this is from the Association on American Indian Affairs. And so look for more paperwork to come, because if these helmets have already been printed and they are already out there, now you're going to have to invite some legal stuff to keep this from going forward. Yesterday was Dallas Cowboys Brandon Aubrey's deadline. He was supposed to receive an offer sheet from any other team before the Cowboys retained rights for him for the 2026 season. Of course, Dallas had already offered him this contract that would have made him the highest paid kicker in NFL history, and he turned it down. And so now looks like he is definitely going to be remaining with the Cowboys. Something that I thought was really shocking, guys. Wide receiver, Super Bowl champ, Jackson Smith and Jigba, JSN, used to wear a size 12 cleat in college, kept having a lot of hamstring issues. So he underwent a foot scan, got resized when he was drafted, and they changed him to a 10.5. He hasn't had any problems since. Now, I know about people having surgeries or what have you to shrink their foot size. Unfortunately, I've seen where some women do it, where it's customized shoes that are only available in certain size. I read one place where this lady had some joints removed from her toes. But JSN clearly did everything he needed to do to try to stay with the collective group, definitely minimize his injuries, and come up big. But I've rarely heard of someone talk about downsizing for this. Like, about the last 15 years, these experts have said they've been able to do foot scanning, and this is not the first person that they've downsized. And so it leads me to think, because 2 sizes is significant. It's not like it's a ½ inch off. This is significant. Number one, how does he only wear these cleats in this size? Do cleats run bigger? Or I just don't know, I don't know where this is coming from. But it clearly made a difference in his performance because he was able to, perform better and all that good stuff. And he's not had no injuries. So there's that. All right, guys. So we're going to do our commercial break real quick. And then when I come back, I will be doing all the legal side that you guys are waiting on, today's news and all that stuff, right after these messages. Hey guys, welcome back to the second half of the Legal Score. I am your host, Sonja. Thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful Saturday, April 18th, 2026. Thank you everyone for coming in. Shout out again to my cousin Pom Pom and the fam and Bistrilla and everyone else that's coming on. Say hello for me for YouTube and all the socials in between. Now, this second half is dedicated to all of the legal stuff that's going on. Now, sometimes these legal issues do combine with sports, but it's very important for you to know I am what? Not an attorney. I'm not an attorney, and this is not legal advice. This is just talking legal nonsense, legal news. All right, so the first big thing that intersects with us is there has been some federal intervention, urgent national action to save college sports. And I told you guys a little bit earlier in the show about how some departments are saying going forward, these divisions do not want to incorporate other leagues, other teams, other athletic divisions that are not in their conference. Now, April 3rd, Trump actually signed a sweeping executive order that aimed at overhauling the current state of college athletics. The order, which takes place August 1st, 2026, which is in a few short months, targets what it calls an out of control financial arms race. Let me give you guys a backdrop. So the NIL is the reason why Nick Saban out of Alabama ended up leaving. The NIL deal is the name, image, and likeness where athletes that were on the college level were getting endorsements from major deals, major vendors, you name it, shoes, clothing, food, what have you. And they were being paid so much money that they did not really care whether or not they got into the draft. Because let's be clear, some of those deals, those endorsements actually superseded the amount that they were making had they gone in as an undrafted free agent or if they had gone in as a rookie. And so I personally know someone that models clothing for a significant clothing label, and they are like getting banked. So it does happen. So the way this overhaul looks, taking place August of this year, which is our new college season, is here coming up. Eligibility and transfers are the first thing that's going to be tackled. It calls for a strict 5-year eligibility window and prohibits professional athletes from returning to college play. So we've seen some players that didn't get drafted, or they got down to the tryouts or whatever because they were still undrafted free agents, and then they go back to college. And then you see these players that have played in college for 7 years because they're still getting the deals and they are actually staying behind. Now, this all started with the pandemic, y'all. Let's be clear. Because of the pandemic, a lot of athletes were able to at least pick up another year, maybe 2 in college play because, let's be clear, 1 year we didn't have any of the sports at all. The next year they weren't televised to the point of having an audience, what have you. And so there was that lack of play, to be honest. But under the eligibility and transfers, it also looks to curb the transfer portal by limiting athletes to a 1 free transfer with immediate eligibility unless they've already graduated. Now, the case in point, when Nick Saban left Alabama, the transfer portal for other schools was insane. When Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, left Jackson State and went to Colorado, the entire team almost followed him from Mississippi all the way to Colorado. And so the transfer portal can get backed up really quick. Now, we know there's already an imposed window and things like that for time's sakes for when athletes can enter the transfer portal, even when teams can actually start speaking with them, coaches specifically. But and this is that's not what's happening. So the White House is involving itself. And now it's saying not only that, they are also going to impose, as of August 1st, a NIL and pay for play. The order actually defines that fraudulent NIL schemes as any payment above fair market value and seeks to restrict collective uses for pay for play. So that's another thing. Like, you got to be actually paying to be played. Like, it's almost is the equivalent of the NFL's You got to take so many downs to meet your quota for your contract. Then, of course, now there's the money issue. There's funding threats coming from the White House and a major move for universities. This order from the White House actually suggests that any violations of these new standards, which take place August 1st, could impact a school's status as a federal contractor or grantee, meaning federal funds that are allocated for students as a whole, not just student athletes, are going to be suspended or withdrawn. Now, we're already in an era. Let's talk about that for a minute. We're already in an era. Everyone knows I'm in law school. We're already in an era that's starting this summer because it is asserted that the United States is under such a huge is under such a huge financial deficit that the way to curtail that is to stop allowing students who wish to matriculate past the Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science level into their master's, into their doctorate. They are no longer eligible to take out private loans against the U.S. government. Stafford loans, Pell grants actually have already been suspended past a certain time. And not only that, the actual schools that will participate, now they're going to look at your financial situation beforehand. So to look at that, it's just like, okay, I don't agree with you inserting yourself into this position. This is something that has nothing to do with politics and everything to do with student athletes. What's up, J Train? Thank you for coming on, brother. Your ears should have been burned. I've been talking about you off and on. But now they're saying, hey, if we find out that these athletes are getting money above fair market, we're just going to start pulling money from you. If you're starting to let these athletes get into these transfer portals everywhere because they want to be seen, they want to get to play, they want to get their name out there for the draft, and they want to up their, their name and their likeness for those purposes for vendors to pay them, we are going to start penalizing you across the board. We're just going to take all the state funds. This actually mandates revenue sharing among schools. Any revenue sharing must preserve or expand opportunities for women and Olympic sports, aiming to prevent high revenue sports like football and basketball from basically siphoning up all the resources from NIL deals. So we're going to look past Caitlin and Paige and Asia and Aaliyah and all these ladies that are now in the WNBA from when they were in college. And we're going to start putting that out there for female athletes that are out there now, or Olympic type sports athletes that are out there now. Now, a hearing was actually held on April 10th regarding the NCAA because, they've already come forward with their lawyers. They're like, nope, we want this dismissed. The court is actually weighing preliminary injunctions against this 5-year rule. So for those who don't know, preliminary injunction would basically put a ban on whether or not this injunction can be enforced for 5 years. There's a whole bunch of clauses that I have not had an opportunity to read up that were already in place with the NCAA. So now that the White House is getting involved, they're just like, hold on. We've got to look at this right away. A final class action suit also just occurred and was settled just a couple of days ago, despite objections from several students. This was Fisk versus SDSU. And so the NCAA is being hit left and right from everywhere. Now, the Ninth Circuit actually ordered lifting this preliminary injunction, leading the plaintiff to possibly being able to voluntarily dismiss the case. Of course, the plaintiff would be, the White House, because they are the ones that are bringing it action. But then on top of that, there's an athlete named Blythe. He's got an action going on. And then Schumann versus the NCAA, there's a new lawsuit filed about the handling of track and field rules. So they already have a lot of legalities going on without now the White House weighing in on what should occur and not occur in the NCAA. What's up, Danny? Hi. You can actually comment. Danny. I don't know how long you've been here, but I'm so glad to have you. Thank you for coming. And then, as if it's not already crazy, and y'all know DraftKings has had a lot of issues with NFL, MLB, everywhere. Well, the NCAA is now in a trademark dispute with DraftKings for signaling a more aggressive stance on how sports books utilize collegiate branding. Not about them folks betting on them, but something that they're battling about their name and likeness. Okay, 17 minutes. Okay, that's all right, Dan. It's good to have you as always. Um, and so there's a lot of things going on with the NCAA that are very much relevant. Now, last night we talked about this a little bit, and I do want to revisit this because this is something that is just so outstanding and astonishing that I have to talk about this again because I realize that some of you all didn't watch last night. And so I'm revamping this to talk about this because this Alabama standout has his day in court coming up here in Atlanta. I didn't even realize until I was talking to the guys last night. It's going to be here in Atlanta, in the Richard B. Russell Federal Building, because it's federal open to the public. I found that it's in the afternoon, so that's a good thing. He is going to be facing fraudulent financial wire transactions, impersonating people, all kinds of counts. None other than Mr. Davis here. And I want to read you guys. It's other people on this indictment. This is Luther Davis is who I'm speaking about. There is a charge because he has entered into financial agreements of $20 million by impersonating people such as Njoku, Michael Penix Jr., and these are just the ones that we know about. And so $20 million in financial loans or what have you, even doing FaceTime videos of things like that. And these people really believed it was him because he was wearing hair and makeup. Now, this document of the indictment was filed March 19th in the Northern District of Georgia. And this is the breakdown of the charges and the actual allegations. The first charge is conspiracy to commit wire fraud under 18 USC subsection 1349. This accuses Davis and CJ Evans. So he had a co-defendant. And by the way, on the main docket, I guess just for privacy purposes, they only have Evans listed as the main defendant. When you look at the court docket to see the hearing, etc., Davis's name is not on it. You can't click on it. But I was able to pull the deets for you guys. So him and CJ Evans, Luther Davis of Alabama, are accused of orchestrating this scheme from May 2023 to October of 2024 to obtain at least, which means there's probably more out there. This is just all the feds were able to gather their evidence for 13 fraudulent loans totaling $19,845,000. So last night when I told you guys, I guess he found some of that. It looks like it was not really 20 million. They just went ahead and just broadly said $20 million. The second one is aggravated identity theft under 18 USC subsection 1028A. This is specifically related to him impersonating NFL players without their knowledge or consent. The reason why this case is so big is just it's so outrageous is the things that Davis did to carry out this fraud during virtual loan closing. So he never went in person. He virtually set these up. And you guys know we're in an era that, you know, if you want to do a Zoom or a Teams meeting or FaceTime, you can conduct almost anything virtually. Like hardly anybody has to go in person anymore. The first one, David Njoku. This was January 22nd, 2024. This kicked everything off. He wore makeup and a wig and secured a loan for $4.025 million from Alaya Sports. All right. They really thought this was him. Then he impersonated Xavier McKinney on March 31st, 2024. So he gave it, 6 weeks. He's like, you know what? Time to go out there again. Let me get my makeup and everything together. This time wore a wig and used a fake driver's license with a made-up driver's license number to secure $4.35 million of a loan. And then the last that they are aware of occurred July of 2024. So he was doing this like every 6 weeks. I don't know if he was taking the money and, invested in the Bitcoin or what, but I mean, more than one transaction, one is wrong, but more than one is just at this point, what is going on with you financially that you're getting all these loans? He impersonated Michael Penix Jr., the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, on July 25th of 2024 and wore a do-rag, which Michael Penix Jr. does wear, to impersonate him and satisfy the requirements of a notary that was present during the closing. Now, both Davis and Evans, CJ Evans, his co-defendant, basically are accused of using their sports management business to provide vouching for fake loans. So they had this sports business that we didn't realize that these two had. So maybe they were making it be lucrative. Yes, Jay, Master of Disguise. There's a movie out. I can't think of the name of it offhand. I feel like it was some type of comedy, but I can't think of. I know it wasn't Jim Carrey or anybody like that, but if you could think of it, you could drop it in there, J Train. But just the mechanics of this, guys. Fabricated financial records and forged signatures of these players, and convinced lenders across this country that players needed multi-million-dollar loans for personal investments. These were unbeknownst to the lenders, definitely unbeknownst to the players who they were saying they were, and nobody knew about these loans. Because this was filed as criminal information, it was a clear signal that this deal, he's already entered a plea deal. This is how they filed this last document. And so now they've reached a plea agreement. Now, the first count alone carries 20 years maximum. The second count of this identity, especially aggravated, is a minimum mandatory of 2 years federal prison time. Like, he's gonna minimally do 2 years. The first charge, like I was speaking last night with J and B, is like, okay, he gets 20 years maximum. The only way he wouldn't get upwards of at least, I'm thinking they may go 7 to 10 years. The only way he wouldn't is if he comes in there and he's got the majority of that money. He says, you know what? Here's your money, because he's going to get hit with restitution regardless. Him going to prison is not going to negate the fact that he owes that money. And so, absolutely. Okay, Dana Carver, yeah. Master of Disguise. Great. Thank you, Jay. I knew you guys would know. Jay would know it because him and B have this movie show. So, of course, he would definitely know that. And Danny, I know you're watching. So what do you think about this, unless you're driving? This conundrum of information that is out here. This plea agreement, of course, going to be here in Atlanta. I still have not realized, I guess because the district that all this was occurring was in the 11th Circuit, which is where Georgia is for the federal courts. And he's going to be accepting his guilty plea on April 27th. This is really wild because aggravated identity theft always shows that there's more than one instance of something happening. The other downfall that nobody's talking about is, hang on, the civil side of this. And this is just my theory, because if you've taken out loans in my name and now this is on my credit, and even though he's going to be pleading guilty and the lenders will know this really is not them, it's just the fact that you use my name and image for this. So now you've defamed me. Like, I will always be now tied with you because you decided to do something illegal using my name. And that's where defamation comes in. It wasn't what he said, it was his conduct. So libel or slander is if, Davis or his sidekick, co-defendant Evans, had actually verbally said something, but their actions superseded anything. And it was unbeknownst to them. There was no indication, not only that these guys did not co-sign on this, but they didn't even have a relationship with them. I'm wondering if there was some type of management interlinking. I should see. I should look really quick because I just thought about that. I feel like this. Maybe there was at some point some type of record, since they were into managing um athletes and things like that. It's kind of like, okay, where does this come from? So basically, the link between Luther Davis and the victims, it was because he had this long-standing relationship in the sporting world. And I just found out, guys, why this sentencing is in Georgia as well. His sports management company is named Rock Source. It's going to be defunct real soon. You could just obliterate it. It's Georgia based. And him and his co-defendant, his co-defendant operated this place called Deed Chasers LLC. I bet you he really was a deed chaser. They used their professional standing to build a bridge of legitimacy between the lenders and impersonated athletes. And what initially occurred was Davis linked all of the victims to the fraud by using vouching through Rock Source, the sports management he had. He used his reputation as an Alabama star and sports manager to convince those lenders that these athletes were his actual clients, and they were not, and that he was speaking and seeking loans on their behalf. Davis and Evans actually registered shell companies. This is where it gets crazy, with names that mirrored the players' initials or personal brands. This is what I'm telling you guys, defamation. And those companies served as the actual borrowers, making it appear that, to the banks at least, that the players were the actual owners. And then it's the digital footprint, guys, the professional looking email addresses that they went and fabricated to produce financial statements that appear to come from the players' actual accounts. So this was well calculated, and it's well beyond a wig and some makeup. So now that I'm reading this and I'm going through this, I am definitely interested in what this plea agreement looks like. I don't see it being on the 7-year level at all. I definitely see it being upwards of the 10 to 15 years because of the details behind the scenes, the intent behind the scene. The law always looks at intent. That's across the board. Any of my law students, any of my new lawyers, y'all know the intent is always looked at. And it's not looked at from a standpoint of you or I. It's looked at broadly. The reasonable person. What would a reasonable person, a regular person of the same background, of the same age, of the same experiences in life, look at this and say in this same situation? You created a fake email. You created fake bank accounts. You copied these players' actual logos that they have for their personal brands and placed them on these fraudulent businesses to market to lenders that these athletes actually were the ones that were speaking or endorsing through you, their quote management team. The most direct link, and they are going to be producing this, was Davis himself. He didn't just stay behind a computer. He actually physically appeared in video conferences and virtual signings using these wigs and the makeup. He used theatrical designs, all this stuff. He must have had a great makeup artist. I'm wondering where that person is, because I don't think he's doing this himself. And then the paperwork, the forged driver's license and IDs that use players' names but were presented. Y'all, I'm going to let y'all know. and this is exactly true what J Train is saying. This is what I was about to say. This is scary what people can achieve. If anyone has a business or fame, you have to be watchful of anyone doing this. But not only that, J Train, if you're anybody, and I go back to what my grandmother used to say. She passed right before she turned 92 back in 2015. So she was with me for a large chunk of my life. And so she hasn't been gone that long. And she always said she did not like computers because she felt like all anybody had to do was type your name in or type a number in and everything about you comes up. And we see this. There is no privacy. And just today, in adding all of that in, I'm on Instagram. I don't know what's going on with my algorithm, but all I am seeing is people live recording unalivings of people. There is no shame. Nothing is sacred or personal or, sensitive to anybody anymore. And I'm like, what is going on with my algorithm? I was like, I guess the next thing I'll go on there is somebody will figure out how to shove a camera into somebody and show them from the inside out, because everything on the outside has already been exposed. And it's sickening and it's vile. And I know for him to do all of this, the evidence is already there. Alaya Sports Finance, All Pro Capital Funding, and Sure Sports were all victims allegedly, along with the athletes themselves. That's what got the actual aggravated identity theft, because there was no accident at all. Exactly, James. Exactly. That's crazy. Yes, end of days. And with that, I do want to talk about something else before I go on, even though this was after this. Something, speaking of my Instagram, this troubled me so bad. I have to talk about this. So I saw on Instagram, this happened in Chicago last year, allegedly, but they've got the video out there because, listen, cops, y'all body camera is always on. And it's got to be the stupidest person in the world to know you're being recorded and still don't give a freak. This happened in Chicago last summer, coming up on a year now, June 5th. Oh, it's so eerie to me. I was actually in Chicago June 5th a few years back. I have former family members that live there, and it's just chilling now that I see the date. There is the police accountability, the Civilian Office of Police Accountability in Chicago. Officer Crystal Rivera was unalived by her partner, Carlos Baker, last June. He had body camera images that just came out today. And this is insane. Rivera and Baker were both members of a special tactical unit. They were conducting a foot pursuit of an armed suspect in the Chatham neighborhood. And they gave the address of Drexel Avenue and I think 87. And it's odd. My family members lived off Drexel. So I'm just like, wow. They go to this door. The person runs in the door, closes the door. They're telling them to open the door. When Baker, the alleged assailant, kicks open the apartment door, he encounters a person inside. And according to the investigation and this footage that you can see, Baker fires a single shot that struck his partner in the back as she stood in the hallway. The reason why it's so outlandish is the video clearly goes this way, following the perpetrator. He turns around knowing his partner is behind him, and he unalives her. The reason this is significant is those two were supposedly romantically involved, and she had broken things off with him. This footage is very controversial because he's shown himself running for cover, and it took about 90 seconds after the gunshot to her. He sits down on the stairs and everything, does not go over to check on her, to render aid or anything. And even then, he starts telling everybody on the radio, Annie up, bring the SWAT unit, bring everybody, roll everybody, roll everybody. And he knows that he's the one that did this. And then he goes back and drags her. She's on a stairwell. He literally pulls her. Everybody knows you don't move a person that has a bullet in them. He drags her. You can see the blood everywhere. Rivera's family actually filed a wrongful death lawsuit and a 9-count lawsuit in December against him and the city of Chicago. And this is just really, really, really sad. And I think it honestly made me sick. Like physically, my stomach just, even talking about it is just nauseating. It's just crazy. It's like he expressed a fear. She had said they had been dating for like 2 years, and he didn't want this anymore. She didn't want this anymore. And he basically said that she didn't want to work with him just days before she was unalive. So anyway, I hate to end on a sad note like that, but you guys look up the video. Nothing is sacred anymore. 21 Savage said it best. Everyone pulls out their cameras instead of getting aid when people need it. But this is crazy. But this is the Legal Score. This is what we do. We bring you the good, bad, and the ugly. You guys have a great night, great day. We'll see you later.